Hey, Micah. I don't know if it matters to you guys or not, but you're scheduled to play Penn State Saturday and then again on Tuesday. I know this is a weird year and weird things happen, but is it a big deal to you guys, or is it just, business as usual at this point?
I think it's just business as usual, to be honest. Obviously, that's different compared to what we're normally used to. But, like you said, the reality of the world we live in today doesn't allow normalcy. So it's just part of what's going on this year. We got to be ready for it. And both games should be good. So it'll be easy. It'll be interesting to, learn from what we do this next game and be able to take that into the very next game after that, going up against the same opponent.
Let's go to Carly next. Micah, do you want to try tilting the computer a little bit?
Forward or back?
Just so it lightens up maybe a little bit. Kind of dark.
Is that better?
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. Micah, Penn State is, the worst defensive team in the Big Ten. They just gave up 38 points in the paint to Ohio State. So how do you feel like you can maximize your offense in the paint tomorrow?
The biggest thing is just look for it. Emphasize that idea of getting it to the paint. The statistics may say something, but they're super scrappy. So you also got to be careful. They jump passing lanes, they trap, they dig hard in the post. So you got to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings when you get it in there, because they're really good at, digging the ball out, getting steals and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as always, it's going to be a huge emphasis tomorrow to get the ball inside, regardless of who touches it in there. But we also got to make sure we're being careful of our surroundings and being aware of our surroundings, because they're really good at getting steals and turning people over.
Jim Polzing, you want to go next?
Micah, speaking of things not being normal, this is the second time you guys would spent like an entire week on the or better part of a week on the road. Can you describe what that's been like? And it's looking like that's what's going to happen in Indiana for the NCAA tournament too. So is there any advantage just kind of getting that out of the way now and knowing what it's like to be away from home for so long?
To be honest, I enjoy it. I don't know, just kind of being on the road, it's like a mini vacation. But it is what it is. It's the reality of the world we live in today. These are great practice runs for what's going to happen in the NCAA tournament. That's hopefully going to be a lot longer than just a week for us. But it's what's going to happen. So it's been good. The big thing is because we got to make sure guys are staying locked in. When you're going on the road, long road trips, it's easy to kind of get away from your focus and all that kind of stuff. So the biggest thing is just making sure guys are mentally prepared and physically prepared. We don't have as much access to treatment facilities and whatnot on the road as we would if we're at home. So the big thing is making sure guys are taking care of their bodies as much as they can and staying locked in as much as they can.
Let's go back to Jeff Patrikas. Reminder, if you have a question for Micah, let me know.
Yeah, Micah, I'm just curious if you remember much from your first trip to Happy Valley, first game against Penn State last year.
Of course. How could I forget? That was kind of the breakout game. But, that's in the past. You got to move forward. Obviously, it'll always be a good memory in the back of my mind. But it's a new game. It's a new team. Got to make sure we're coming out and hopefully, staying as hot as we were last game.
Let's go to Josh Shaffer next. Josh?
Micah, I was curious last game, like just winning that game against Maryland after the way you guys played the first time and kind of fixing some of the mistakes maybe that you had in the first game. Do you feel like that's important for you guys as the season moves forward to kind of check those things off as you go back through and play teams in the Big Ten twice?
Yeah, absolutely. You always want to learn from your mistakes and kind of getting the dirty taste out of your mouth is always nice after a loss. So we did a great job of that against Maryland the other night. Obviously we play Penn State twice in the next couple of days. So hopefully we can get 2 wins. But the biggest thing is like we always say, learn from your mistakes. You don't want to be playing your best basketball now. You want to be playing it in March. So whatever we can do to learn. Obviously learning from a win is better than learning from a loss. But regardless of what happens, making sure we're learning from our mistakes and moving forward so we can be our best in March.
All righty. Anybody else with the last question for Micah? Carly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just talking about that game against Ohio State, but once again, Ohio State didn't seem to come out ready to play. And I know Penn State doesn't have the best record right now, but is that just a reminder to you guys that you guys got to come out no matter who you're playing, because the Big Ten is tough no matter what?
Yeah, absolutely. And different things going through practice and watching film, the coaches are emphasizing that you can't look at their record for how good of a team this is. They play super, super hard. As I mentioned, they're super scrappy. I think they lead the conference in turnovers, like caused against over other teams. I think they're second in steals per game. So they come out and they play super, super hard and super, super fast, and that can catch people off guard. So the biggest thing is making sure we're ready to play from the get-go, understanding, what we've prepared for. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be scrappy. We're going to have to play really hard because they're going to play really hard. We're going to have to match that intensity. But ultimately, we just got to continue to play our game. If we play our game, we can beat anyone. So that's the biggest thing. Make sure we're ready for, the scrappiness and maybe, them trying to get us into rushing ourselves offensively. But if we play our game, we should be okay.
Alrighty. Thanks, Micah. Guess. Jeff, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, Aleem, I asked the same question to Micah. This is a little bit unusual having to play Penn State Saturday and Tuesday. Is that a big deal to you guys? Do you even talk about it? Do you care? It's business as usual this year with all the strange stuff going on?
Yeah, not really. We haven't talked about it too much, but we kind of just knew going into the season that anything can happen. They kind of told us beforehand that there will be rescheduling, and that happened with Penn State with them getting shut down for a bit. So we knew we were going to have to fill them in later into the season, and we kind of just expected it going into the season, really.
Jim Polzine.
This is the second time this month that you guys have gone on an extended road trip. What's it been like on the road? It's different than normal years, I know. I'm just curious what it's been like and what you've tried to get out of it.
Just kind of like what Micah said, staying focused, being away from home for a little while, not having access to the gym like we usually do for rehab treatment or whatever, or getting extra shots up. So making sure that we're staying focused and locked in because things are a little bit different. We're not in our usual settings. So just making sure we're keeping that same focus and not wavering, really.
Carly, let's go to you.
Aleem, over the last 4 games, you've been a little inconsistent in scoring, and I know it's not all about scoring, but is that frustrating for you? And how do you keep your confidence up game in and game out?
Just keep being aggressive, not just in the scoring column, just as a defender or rebounding or whatever it is really, and just making sure I can do my best to whatever works best for the team and that we're coming out with a W, and then that's what I really pay attention to is the W in that column and the end result, really. So,
Josh Shaffer, you want to go next?
Aleem, this is kind of a weird COVID year thing that you guys scouted Penn State and then didn't play them and then scouted them again after them playing a few more games. I was curious, was there just anything else that stuck out that was different when you went back and watched their more recent games than what you guys were looking at before? Or was the scout kind of similar from then?
Pretty much similar. We know that they're a scrappy team, and a lot of the games that they have lost have been close games, which they had a chance to win. So, like Micah said, we're not paying attention to the record because they're better at home. They're a scrappy team, and they fight to the end. So we know both of these games we're going to have to bring our all in. Like any game in the Big Ten, you got to bring it every day because it can be a loss if you don't.
Let's go to Raul Vasquez. Raul.
What's up, Aleem? The biggest thing people point out about this team is that you guys are filled with seniors, and with that, you guys have played a lot of basketball together. I'm curious what the bond between this team is like. What if there's like any stories of road trips where you guys have had a lot of fun or anything like that?
We've just been hanging out, really. Right now, we've been playing on the bus ride since we bused from Maryland to Penn State. We've been playing Among Us. So we all just yelling at each other and screaming and stuff like that and playing like that. So, we've been spending a lot of time together. So we just really been hanging out. And it's honestly a great experience. And I'm kind of enjoying it for my last go around, really.
Let's go back to Jim Polzine. Jim?
Liam, no two teams are alike, but do you see similarities between Penn State and Maryland just in makeup, kind of a smaller lineup? Can shoot the three, can get to the rim. I don't know if you see any similarities there.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Coach Gard actually said that this will be a good matchup for coming off a game like Maryland and coming into Penn State because, like you said, there's similarities. They kind of play 4 guards necessarily with Lundy at the 4. So similarities on that end, and then also the defensive end, being aggressive with pressing and just kind of matching up with us in that sense. So we can kind of take away things that we did well from Maryland and kind of the things that we didn't do well and try to use them to our benefit in this next game.
Sorry about the sound there on that. Let's go back to Jeff Patrikas. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, Aleem, you mentioned rebounding briefly, and that's one thing that Penn State does really well. I'm just curious, in the scout work that you guys have done, how much emphasis has been put on keeping number 21 off the glass, especially the offensive glass?
A lot. That's what we're doing our scout. That's the first thing that was brought up when we were going over him. So he's been rebounding on the offensive end really well. I think 5.8 offensive rebounds in the Big Ten play or however many games. So he's going. And so they were saying if you're boxing him out, you might not get the rebound. Just make sure that he doesn't. So we're definitely going to be more aggressive on that end and make sure that we negate those for him and don't let him get no easy rebounds or just let them get going really because they feed off of that.
Let's go back to Carly. Time for a couple more here.
Micah was talking about how scrappy of a team Penn State is, and a lot of their points come off of turnover. So how big will it be to take care of the ball?
I mean, it'll be huge, and we kind of really focus on that every game to negate those turnovers because they'll get the other team going, and then that'll give us less possessions to score on. So especially like a team like Penn State, they feed off those energy plays. I know Wheeler had got a few steals against Ohio State to get themselves going. So the more we can be aggressive on the offensive end and get more looks against the foul line, then it'll make it a lot easier for us on the defensive end and not let them get those energy and hustle plays that we talked about.
All right, one last question here, Raul.
Aleem, I wanted to ask about Micah Potter. I mean, he kind of has an all-around game where he can score from outside and in the post, but I want to ask specifically about his post game, what makes him so successful. Because in the post, what kind of goes into being a successful player? What do you need to do well to be so successful down there?
Just ducking in hard and getting those hard post touches. I feel like the biggest thing to being like at least a decent post player is having the ability to duck in and want the ball on the post, and Micah does. And when he gets it in there, he gets himself in good positions to score. And also he does a great job of kicking it out. I know I got a kick out 3 off from last game. And after I fed him once and fed him again, and he's not shy to pass the ball back out, which makes him even harder to guard because teams aren't able to help as much off of him or off of us to try to take him away, which gives him an even easier look sometimes. So that's the biggest thing, really, just getting the ball in the post and kind of creating out of there.